All right, well, welcome to our channel, 4D Farms. Today we're going to do just a summer southern supper. We're going to put in the smoker. We're going to start out, we're going to prep our ribs. We had a hog killed, so this is a farm raised hog, it's not a commercial hog. And so we had some spare ribs, and so that's what our meat topic is going to be today. So on your spare ribs, you've got, I guess, the baby back or St. Louis style, whatever. And then you have the rest of this part of the, I guess, the spare part of it. But I usually just take this off, this little flap of skin off. We're going to use it. We're going to cook it with the rest of the ribs. I don't want my ribs too thick to where they don't cook evenly. So then after we cut that flap of skin off, you got a tail end right here, and I'm going to do it the same way. I'm going to take and cut it off, and that's going to be a main section of ribs. Now a lot of people know that there's a silver skin on the back of this that you can score it if you want to in between the ribs. You can score that, and it'll help hold your ribs together if you get them really, really tender. But I like to take and pull this off. So with a knife, just take and get underneath the skin and get it started, and get your little old flap started like this, and just take and pull it down all the way off. And then when you cook your ribs are going to be really, really tender. And so you can just pull that bone completely out of that rib, and we'll get into that after I cook. All right, we got everything, our meat prepped, our ribs, we got them separated and sectioned out. We left some of the silver skin on the back of one of these, so when we cook, we'll kind of show you what that looks like versus the other that we pulled the silver skin off. But what I like to do is it's 10:30. We're going to start cooking about 12. And I like to let these ribs come up to room temperature. Just let them sit on the counter for 45 minutes or so. But I start out with a good salt base, and I'm just using a Himalayan pink salt. And I like to salt them down and give that salt a couple hours to work before I start cooking. And that's going to it'll draw the moisture out, but then it'll also put that moisture back in there while it's cooking. So there's a lot of videos about people salting the meat down before they cook it. And when I do we're going to do a dry rub today. So when I do my dry rub, I'm not going to include any salt. I'm going to do just all spices on my dry rub. So we'll salt the back side, and we'll flip them all over. I want to get a good heavy coat. Himalayan pink salt is not really, really salty, so you can use a generous amount without really overkilling it too bad. I'm going to leave all the fat that I can on my ribs, so that as that's cooking, it's making it more tastier and more juicier. So we're just going to salt it down real good on both sides. These just come out of the refrigerator, so it'll take them a little while to get up to room temperature. All right, they're all salted down. All right, guys, on our next part of our meal that we're cooking for our summer southern supper, we're going to start out. We have browned a pound of ground beef and 4 strips of bacon, and we've kind of just chopped those up as big as you want or as small as you want. This is going to be our bean recipe that we're doing. So we start out with a pound of ground beef, and 4 strips of bacon. And then we're going to take some of our home canned pinto beans, and we're going to.
Okay.
All right. So we've got one mason jar, quart size, that we put up with our own pinto beans. Now, our beans didn't have a lot of moisture in it, so we didn't have to drain it. But if you buy store-bought beans, just drain that off, because you're going to put liquids in here, and you're going to have brown sugar too. So we got a quart of beans, and then on our we're going to take and put 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. Okay. And then we're going to take 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. Okay. And then we're going to take 1 tablespoon of yellow mustard, honey mustard, whatever you want to try. We're just going to do regular mustard. 1 tablespoon of that. And then we're going to do 1 cup of ketchup. This is 0 sugar ketchup. So, I mean, you can use regular ketchup, it's fine. Okay. And we're going to use a 1/2 cup of brown sugar. Okay. And then we're going to do a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And we're just using sea salt, 1/2 teaspoon. We're just going to sprinkle that in there. Alright. And then I've got 1 red bell pepper that we grew. And 1/2 of a Vidalia onion. We're going to put that in our pan. We'll mix all this up. We'll get it prepped for the smoker. So when we start smoking everything, it'll all go in the smoker at one time. All right. So we've got our smoker preheating. I want to prep these ribs. They've been sitting at room temperature between 30 to 40 minutes, so they should be at room temperature now. So what I like to do is take some mayonnaise. I know a lot of people use mustard, some people use olive oil. I just take some mayonnaise and I just put it on the ribs, and to me it gives the ribs a little bit extra acid from the mayonnaise, from the real mayonnaise. It gives a little bit extra fat, so the ribs don't dry out as bad. So I just take a few little dollops of mayonnaise and I'll just rub that in. I always do the back side first. I don't know, you can do either side you want first, but I just take and rub that in, and I'll thin it out. I'm just going to get a good coating on it first before I apply my seasonings. This acts as my binder for my seasonings, because remember I put my salt on there, so my seasonings does not have any salt in it. If you don't like mayonnaise, you ain't got to use it. You can use mustard. You can use whatever you like to use as a binder. But it seems to me like mayonnaise does help. And you don't really taste it in the cook. So I just got my own spices. You can buy these little shaker things on Amazon, and we'll try to post them on our link down below. You just put them on a regular mouth mason jar, and like I said, we're just going to give a good healthy seasonings on the back side. And like I said, we've got a little bit of everything in our seasonings. We use sumac, not really brown sugar, but our brown sugar will come in later in the cook. But we use paprika, smoked paprika. We use a little bit of chipotle powder, garlic, onion powder. Try to get it, all those little old flaps there that we didn't get cut off. All right, so we got the bottom side, and after we get it, we'll just take and flip everything over. And then just we'll restart the process again and make sure that we got a good heavy coat of spices on our front side. This is going to be the upper side. I always cook mine meat side up, bone side down, just to help preserve some of the fat dripping through. So we'll go ahead and get the top side coated with mayonnaise and our seasonings, and then we'll come back. All right, guys, we got our meat prepped. We've got it seasoned out. We purchased these little grate things to go on our smoker. We got those from Amazon as well. They work out great. You can put your meat on there, tote it all in and out at one time, and you don't have to handle the meat and rub all the sauce off. So we've got our meat prepped. We've got our beans ready to go on the smoker. One thing that we started doing this summer is we're going to make smoked deviled eggs, and we're going to take just regular white eggs that you can buy at any grocery store. These are uncooked; they're not cooked yet. And if you will, just follow me out to the smoker, and I'll show you what we're going to do with these eggs. All right, so we're out here at our smoker. We're using our vertical pit boss. We've got for these eggs, I found out that we've got a smoker tube down in the bottom, and you can also purchase those off Amazon, and all you do is you just fill them up with your favorite pellets, and it helps put this extra smoke into the smoker that you're going to need for these eggs. So we take our eggs, if they're raw eggs. Pause it. All right, we're going to take our eggs. We're just going to place them on the grates. Just place them where they don't roll. And I like to put them up at the top where they're going to capture most of the smoke. And you'll see why. Once these things are done, you'll see why they need to be close to the top. Now, if you wanted to use brown eggs, that's totally up to you. Like I said, we didn't have any brown eggs available, so we just went to the store and bought just some regular white eggs, and these work great. All right, so we're going to close our smoker up. Now these, when our smoker comes up to temp, we're going to cook these at 230 degrees for 4 hours. So while everything else is cooking, we're cooking our eggs. All right, so we got our beans up on the middle rack. We put our ribs down here closer to the heat. The heat's down here at the bottom. We're going to cook the ribs for 3 hours, open. For 230 degrees. The beans, everything is cooked except for the onions and the peppers. You can pre-cook those if you'd like. I like just a little bit of crunch on those, so we're only going to cook those for about 2 hours at 230, and then our eggs will be in there for 4 hours at 230. All right, it's been 3 hours that we put the ribs on the smoker, so we're pulling them off now. This is the reason why we didn't put any brown sugar in our spices to begin with. So we're going to take brown sugar. We're just going to take a handful. We're just going to spread it. Just kind of pat it down on top of our ribs. Then we're going to take about 3 pats of butter, depending on what size ribs you got. And we just want to take it and seal it up really, really tight in our aluminum foil. I've got double layer aluminum foil because I don't want to punch a hole or anything, getting it out of the smoker or sliding it around on the grates and cause it to leak. So this is going to basically steam for the next 2 hours, and it's going to make these ribs really, really tender. All right, it's been 4 hours. So we're going to pull our eggs. We've got a bowl of ice and water in here to immediately cool down the process. So our white eggs, this is what they look like after you smoke them for 4 hours. So we'll just take them and put them in our ice bath. All right, we got our ribs finished up. If you remember, we cooked them open for 3 hours, and then we brought them in and put brown sugar and butter on them and wrapped them up and cooked them for 2 additional hours. So now we're going to stick these in the oven and we're going to let these rest while I'm prepping the smoked eggs. So as you can see, our yolks are fully cooked on the inside. We put them in raw, cooked them for 4 hours on 230. And this is the color that you get. This is the actual, there's no shell on this. This is the eggs that we're going to eat. So that's how much smoke that those eggs have taken in. So I'm going to dig the yolks out. I'm going to put them in my blender, and then I'll come back and we'll show you what spices and stuff we're putting in this. All right, so we got all of our yolks dug out. We had a couple of them to break. That's fine. We're just going to put them in the blender with our mix. They'll be perfectly fine. We're going to add some minced garlic. None of these are really measured. It's just more so, you know, how many eggs you got, how much garlic you want in it. We've tried honey Dijon mustard, and it was a little spicier than what we'd like. So this time we're going to do just a regular honey mustard. And like I said, nothing's measured. Doing sweet pickle relish. You might have a favorite recipe for your deviled eggs. That's fine. You use what you'd like. This is diced chipotle peppers, and now this is really, really hot, so we're not going to use a ton of this. We're going to do probably about a teaspoon, I guess, for 18 eggs. Like I said, that stuff is really, really hot. And this is just a smoky mesquite. seasoning. Like I said, we're just adding flavors, depth of flavors to our mix. And this is a smokehouse maple. Using a little bit of smoked paprika. And some pink Himalayan salt. All right, and then we're going to add our mayonnaise. Like I said, our house, we prefer Duke's, just preference. And you want to add enough mayonnaise to give it some. You don't want it just real crumbly. You want it pretty creamy. This is not my appliances in a while, so I got to figure out how to get it all working together. Put that in a blender. We're going to blend it up. All right, we got our mix blended up real good. I'm really happy with the consistency of it, so I didn't have to add any more mayonnaise. It's got a good flavor to it. So now we're just going to do like a little piping trick, I guess. A lot of people are doing nowadays. We're going to put all of our egg mix in this bag. We'll get this filled up, and then I'll come back to you and show you how we're going to fill our eggs up. All right, we got our mix in our little quart bag. All we're going to do is just going to cut the corner out and hopefully not make a mess. And then we're just going to take it and we're going to fill up our eggs. There's quite a bit of mix in here. We had a couple eggs that broke on us, so we just put them in the mix. So we're just going to fill up our eggs. Quick and simple, easy way to do it. Okay, we'll just put this aside. We'll finish up the rest of them. We're going to cook some bacon. Well, I was cooking some for my beans. We're just going to take some of the bacon. We're just going to place a strip or two on it, on each little just an egg here. Get it filled in. Go. Just take and put a piece of bacon on them. We're going to take some chipotle powder. And we're just going to sprinkle on the top. Just like you would paprika, but this is a turn up. We're turning it up today. So. All right, there you go. There you have it. There's your summer smoked eggs. All right, we finally got our supper ready, and I told you I was going to explain to you a little bit about leaving the membrane on the back versus taking it off. So, if you can see on this rack of ribs here, we removed the membrane, and you can see how the bones pulled through, and they just pull right off. And on this, we left the membrane in. So, it's still tender, but it's holding together. So, but it's holding together with that membrane. So like I said, it's a personal opinion, whether you like it one way or the other. But that's it for our summer southern supper. We have ribs, beans, kind of like a baked beans with a twist, and then we have our smoked eggs with bacon. Anything that we've used on our video, you can find it on our link down below. Our pit boss smokers, our heat gloves that we've used, our little trays that we put our ribs on, all that stuff. We'll try to post it down below on our Amazon account so you can find it and have a good summer.